learn how to borrow from other people and put your name on it. Put your own style to it. Now, Willie George is an amazing man. He's founded an amazing church. Gospel Bill reached thousands of kids, just gushing with wisdom all the time, quotable like in anything. And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to act on that, and I'm going to steal that and pretend that I said that. So my name is Sam. I do streaming and help churches like figure out solutions for streaming and stuff like that. And I want to go through and talk through some ideas and some concepts just to get you guys solid on streaming. How many of you guys in here are already streaming? Okay, that's about like 30%. I'm just going to move this out of the way so we can like really connect. So how many of you guys have streamed on like with a phone or like Facebook or Instagram type of deal? Like not a full stream, but like, just experimenting. I mean, it's good to like try out the new stuff and the new technologies. So what I want to talk about first is the hardening your systems to failure. And what that means is like for you guys that do stream, that have streamed, you've probably had the dreaded, moment of like, 8:55, 5 minutes before the service, and you get the text that you read, and it's in all caps, and there's like 100 exclamation points in it. And depending on like how bad the problem is, there's an expletive or something. But you're reading it and you're like, oh no, what's going on? And because it happens, the stream fails or whatever, and stuff's going on. And so what I want to go through is just go through some there's just simple things that we can do to harden our stream against failure, and actually try to make failure happen so that when it does, we're way better at diagnosing it quickly and figuring that out. I want you guys to think of, like, what do you guys think of a stream as? Like, it's this vague thing, right? Like, it's like this 4-dimensional tesseract thing where you're trying to figure out, and there's like encoding and like 1080p and 720p and like all this crazy stuff. What a stream is it's a pipeline. It is a pipeline from your campus to this, or a phone. It's just a pipeline. And so tell me, guys, what if you go into your house and you're building a new house, or you just wake up one morning and you turn on your faucet and there's no water coming out? What does that mean? There's a broken faucet, right? So what do you do? So do you go like, oh no, what do I do? Like, please God, like help me figure this, or you like freak out? What do? You just go find a leak. You go find where there's water. And so a live stream is no different. So the water version of a live stream is just, there's specific points on your live stream where you can check for failure. The first one is it running on the phone? Can I hear it? Can I pull it up? Is it going? If that's great, well then maybe the specific user or the specific person that had that issue, they're just having issues on their device. And that's great news. That means it's just messing up for one person, and we can get on the phone or just help them get it sorted out. The next step is like, okay, it's not on the phone, so let's go up the pipe. So you start from the faucet, you go down into your sink. Like, your sink is, well, what are we streaming from? Are we streaming from YouTube or Facebook? Well, those streaming services, they have a little report page, a little like green dot that gives you the thumbs up to let you know you're good. If it's like an orange dot or a red dot, well, then that means there's something going wrong, and that's super easy to diagnose. If that's good, then it's probably at the campus, and you just follow that pipeline. And when you take it into the context of, well, we're just following the stream, as opposed to like it's this crazy complicated thing that we're trying to figure out, it's just easier to deal with. So next is this is a small one, but it's a big one. Wait until Monday to make big changes. If you're going to upgrade, if you're going to get that new iMac Pro 6K screen, whatever, install it on a Monday. Just trust. If you don't know why, just trust me. It's just better. It's just a good idea. Keep it stable, upgrade in parallel. So what is upgrading in parallel? So a lot of, there's kind of two mistakes you can make with upgrading your hardware. And the first one is to never upgrade. And everybody has that issue. There's something somewhere, some Wi-Fi router or just some kind of deal that if you upgrade it, it just never gets touched. It's maybe the kids' ministry check-in or something, and you know it's bad, and we'll figure it out eventually. Like, that's great, but the second worst mistake you can make is upgrade every single time and too quickly. Because what that's going to do is your parts are going to get out of alignment. You're not, what you're using, the hardware and the software, are not going to be in parallel. And so what that means, upgrade in parallel, whenever you're upgrading your streaming system, you upgrade everything at once in sequence. So an example of this would be, so Wirecast is an application you can use to stream to services and Facebook and YouTube, all kinds of great stuff. So if you buy your Wirecast thing and you buy your Mac and you have the Mac OS that sits on it, and it just sits there for months and months, and then it's time to upgrade. The little dialog pops up, and Wirecast wants to upgrade. Well, the problem is that they want you to pay, and what that's going to do is if you're going to jump ahead of your Mac, of where your Mac is, it's going to get that out of parallel. And so it's just a concept. It's just, instead of upgrading every tiny little small upgrade, like security updates, stuff like that, you want to have that. But every time you upgrade all at once. But upgrade, kind of frequently. At least once a year is pretty good. How are we doing on time? Okay. So use a wired connection and shut off Wi-Fi all the way. To just do whatever you can to never stream your services over Wi-Fi from your campus. You're just asking for problems, and it's just not fun. That's like the biggest reason, especially if you have, most churches have the Wi-Fi that everybody uses, and so if your stream is sharing resources with, Chris, who's watching Facebook videos and just having a good time, like those get treated equally. And so if Chris slows down, then the stream slows down, because they have to share the same pipe. One solution is to have a dedicated internet where you literally buy a separate internet that you pay for monthly. Another solution is if you have an IT person, a volunteer at your church, they can actually lock a certain amount of internet bandwidth to your live streaming machine, and that will always have that, no matter what else is going on anywhere else. The next deal is install as little as possible on your streaming machine. Just keep it clean. I get it. If you're a smaller church, you're probably also using it for video editing or something. You can't just use a computer for one thing. But try to isolate things. Try to keep from using things that are running all the time. And then when the day of the stream, just restart the computer. And I would prefer service. And obviously, that's another thing. Always test it before. And the closer you can get to the actual production test where you're having audio run and the video run, that's better, but that's not always ideal. You're not always going to have that. But just test your videos and everything, and just get in a habit of testing those things. So I want to go to my next point. Oh, there's one last thing I want to go over, and it's a secret. It's a secret that is how to talk to your leadership about upgrading, about when you have to make the ask for, hey, I need to make a purchase. And you show them the computer, the nice computer on Apple.com that is exactly, or a PC that's this perfect graphics card and everything, and they're like, okay, well, I just came out of Best Buy and there was a computer that costs a tenth of that. Why can't we just use that one? And you're like, well, you just don't know what to say. And so there is a concept in software development called technical debt. And what that means is that is anytime you take a shortcut, whether if you just are in a hurry and you have to do something really quickly and you don't do it as good, or you take a shortcut in pricing. And it is, I mean, it is people's tithe. It is people's money. You always want to respect that. You always want to do as much research as you can. Go on all the prochurchtools.com, all the church blogs. Visual Church Media is another one. And make sure you know exactly that is the right thing to spend it on. But if you know, when you get that pushback of like, you know, what's the justification of this? If it's something that you know for sure that you're going to need, this is it. It's going to create technical debt. And what that means is we can pay for this now, and we can pay this thing for the right part, or we can wait and we can get the cheaper one. And that will create technical debt that we will have to pay for later on. So no matter what, if we're going to grow this church and we're going to develop this, we're going to pay for this. And it's going to happen right now or it can happen later, and there's probably going to be some interest if it happens later. And nobody likes debt interest, right? Okay. So the next topic is just making the stream better. Just getting the basics right. And when you get the basics right, everything just seems to work out itself. I'm gonna step away from a bit of the technical stuff and just talk about running the stream and consistency. And that is one of the points, like be consistent. I know John in his talk, that was one of his points about uploading videos to YouTube. The same thing goes for streaming. Always start the stream at kind of the same time, and you want to start it around 30 minutes before, or more is even better, because that's when you're going to find out when you really get it running and things are really going. That's a good point where a lot of failures happen, where you have time to like fix them and get them worked out. Arrive early and prep things for your volunteers. This is a cool idea. I love this concept, and anytime I lead over volunteers, I just apply it equally. So you guys know, volunteers, they work for free. You don't pay them, right? You do pay them. You do. You pay them with preparation. And so think of it like this. Brandon, if I hire you for a job and you work at Quick Trip and I'm your Quick Trip guy, and you work all day and you come to me and you're like, all right, I'm done, I'm ready for a check, and I'm like, oh, sorry, not today. And you're like, what? I just did the thing. You're not paying me. Like, sorry, can't help it. It is what it is. That is the same feeling, and some of you guys are volunteers, so you've experienced this. That is the same feeling when a volunteer comes up to a position that has not been prepared for them, that is just out of funk and just messed up. If you are paid on a church staff, this is just your responsibility. That's not a question. It just is. Like, you are paid to prepare those volunteers and set them up for win. And to be honest, that's how you get really great volunteers. If you start doing that and start creating and just setting up for your volunteers and just teeing it off. Like, there's the things that you guys like to do and the taking the cool photos and all that kind of stuff. If you're setting that up for your volunteers, where they just come in and they're the photo guy who just takes the photo and it's super easy and you have the shot list already set up perfect for them, that is the biggest win ever. That is the most fulfillment they can get as a volunteer. And it's just amazing. Everyone will want to serve under you. The next step is stream. Test every service with either a live feed or a video. So if you don't have a live feed from your sanctuary, the kind of best deal is if your band is practicing, before service, and you just run it for 5 minutes and test every day, every service, every time, because anything can change. Like, people go and they borrow equipment or something, and they're like, "Well, he doesn't need this adapter. He has 100 of these adapters." Well, that's actually how we stream and reach people online. If somebody's in the hospital, they kind of need that to be able to, watch church. That's a little bit of an important part. Testing is huge. Stay legal, use copyright-free music. This is a big one. This is a big one I see, and I actually was talking with a guy here. He's dealing with it too, even though he's actually going the legal route with like stock photo music. He still gets hit by copyright registrations. And basically, what this system is basically when you're streaming on YouTube or Facebook, they run kind of a Shazam. Do you guys know what Shazam is in here? Yeah. You just play, you just tap the button and it tells you what the song is. That's actually a really simple technology that YouTube has running on your stream all the time. And so if you're streaming on YouTube or Facebook, or in a few other services, they've got that Shazam running because they don't want, Universal Studios or whatever to come and receive a cease and desist letter from their lawyers saying, hey, you guys owe us like $10,000 or something. They don't want any of that. And there are some private streaming services that won't, kind of Shazam the audio for you. They're not going to stay that way. Eventually, this will be, especially with like European laws coming in about like people are getting more and more serious about keeping track of what copywritten material is broadcasted online. They're only going to start applying this more and more. And so eventually all streaming services will have this copyright protection. And so the best thing you can possibly do right now is just start right now using your own or copyright-free music. Another thing is it's so good at this point, sometimes it can even track your worship music. And so if you play a Hillsong song and with your worship, it can even sometimes pick up on that. I mean, if you do it, 52 times, 104 times a year with all your services, eventually it'll catch them. So there's two services I like to recommend, and there's even more out there. The first one is no-lick.com. This is a newer one, and it has some more electronic, like fun, youthful music that you can try out. A lot of it has vocals in it, but some of it is instrumental as well. The next one is the YouTube audio library, and this is amazing. So YouTube not only is kind of like the hardest to deal with as far as like copyright, like they're gonna if you do almost any copywritten thing in your music, they're gonna catch you. But they also are the best at providing resources. They have a whole library of thousands of songs that you can just drag through, click instrumental or whatever, and just pop them onto your live stream. Or if you're really working good with your production, you just run them in your production music. You usually can get away with, because most people, most churches don't monetize their streams. And so if it's not monetized, it's kind of in this especially on YouTube, it's in this gray area of if you play a copyright-written track on it, like only like one or two, they'll catch it and they'll put ads on it. So you can't monetize it as a church, which, you probably aren't trying to get ads off of your messages anyway, but other studios will get ads off of it. But that doesn't necessarily count towards your archived feed. If you edit those copyrighted tracks out, then you won't have to worry about that. The next deal is getting faster. And so your job is to remove all the roadblocks for your team. The faster you can get your team going and get them doing what they like doing, which is just serving. And because I assume, actually, are there any volunteers in here? Oh, that's awesome. Thanks for coming. Yeah, so you're super committed. Your church is probably going to grow super well because of how committed its volunteers are. So most of the people in here are probably church staff and paid, and so just you probably have volunteers under you, and it's all about, again, like I said earlier, removing those roadblocks. You will become everybody's favorite person to serve under. People from the coffee bar will be going up to you like, what are you doing? Why did you steal my guy? My guy was amazing. He made a great latte, and he just like left. He just like literally took off his apron and just walked out and said he was going to serve under you. Like, I don't understand it. It's all about just making it as easy as possible for your volunteers to do what they can, and ask them. There's actually a website called awesomeboss.com, And it's more for like actual bosses, but I find it works really great for volunteers. And it sends you text reminders. So Brandon, do you have any volunteers under you? What's the name of your volunteer? So Mac, so you type in Mac's info, his birthday, his thing into Awesome Boss, and Awesome Boss will text you every once in a while, maybe once a month or something, and remind you, hey, text Mac and ask him if there's anything getting in his way. What's cool is it's coming from you, so it looks like you're like the best leader in the world. And so that's kind of fun, and you'll actually end up having very interesting experiences where a volunteer will be like, yeah, I have this back problem and my chair is just always like super low. And you're like, okay, well, let's figure this out. We have this tall guy sitting in here, so from now on, I'll just, between services, I'll just reset the chair for you. And it is stuff as simple as that is the difference between a lose and a win with your volunteer, as far as them wanting to stay with you. And it's just the small things that make the biggest difference. And if you can get 1,000 of those small things going on, where you just have a list of like things that you're setting up or removing, restrictions and frustrations for your volunteers, they will come every week, and you'll have a hard time keeping them away. Let's see what we got next. I hope you guys don't mind if I play some Minesweepers while I'm talking to you. This is a cool one. Make screen recordings of what you want your volunteers to do. And this actually specifically applies to live streaming, but it can also apply to like editing photos or stuff like that. On Mac, I know you can just do QuickTime, and you can do a little screen recording with it. You can look it up on YouTube to figure out how to do it. And on Windows, there's also some really great applications. But just do a recording of your computer screen, just going through what you do to set up your live stream, what you do for different computer-related roles. If you have a kids check-in, make a YouTube video of you. If it's on an iPad, I think the newer iOS can record the screen, but if it can't, just record it with your iPhone and just go through and like click it. The great part about that is that as soon as you text that to your volunteer the week of, before they come in, and they already know that, and again, that's going towards those roadblocks. They already know how to get through it. And especially stuff with live streaming, there's so many like intricate things, and it's so complicated, and there's so much stuff about it that you kind of take for granted once you already have it set up and going, that just having that visual representation of like, when you say like, okay, click on the record button, and they're just like, what record button? And they're just like looking for it, and they're like trying to figure it out, and it's just confusion and frustration. And so make those videos, but also make for your volunteers that you have, but also if they just want to take a break and like switch positions, then when you onboard a new volunteer, guess what? You already have a video for them to watch. So you literally just say, watch this video, and then text me if you have any questions. And it is the best thing. It takes you 5 minutes. It takes you essentially the time it would have taken you to show them in the first place, and then you're done. And that's it. The next deal is, so don't feel bad about being cringy. You guys kind of know what cringy is, like where you're starting out and you have that awkward stuff where you start comparing yourself to like the super nice like Church on the Move stream or whatever, or Life Church stream, and you're like oh, I don't know. We need to have that we need to have that super HD camera before we get it going, or we need to have the right lights or whatever. Like that's all great. Just learn to lean in to what you already have. More importantly, lean into the kind of people you're supposed to reach. You don't need a 1080p or like a 780p super black magic camera or whatever to reach who God's called you to reach. And everybody knows they have that set kind of group of people. For example, at Guts, right now it's young families, but it's also people who have kind of the unchurched, and they lean into that and they push towards that. Your goal is not is not to be the most prettiest, beautiful stream. You'll get there. Just focus on lighting first. But that all will happen. But just embrace the people that you already have. Especially if you're using Church Online Platform, which is a free service from Life Church, which lets you schedule out your church events or your church streams. You have a little chat deal there, and just leaning into that, and just let's say you have 5 people on your stream, because this is a real thing. People have this. They're streaming to 5 people. Say hello to all those 5 people. Get to know them. Get to know the names of their kids. Get to know make it into something that only you can do. The biggest, especially if you're a small church, the biggest advantage that you have is that you're a small church. You can literally know the name of every person who watches your live stream. And you can have that community, and it's just chatting. It's just staying in contact with people. Here's a funny thing to make you guys feel a little better about starting out. So when Life Church started out, they started in Craig Rochelle's garage, and they had mirrors on either side of it, so it'd make it look like they had more people, but it was really 20 people. And so what they would do is they had the slides, because they didn't have ProPresenter back then or anything. They just had the old school, where you it's projected paper or whatever, and you slide it on there. You guys know what I'm talking about? And so what they would do is they had their volunteer guy, and he would he would swap out the deals for Pastor Craig, and so you'd see his hand go over and go like this, and people were wait, what was that? And then he'd go to the next slide, and he'd go like this. And so the volunteer that they had to stream actually had a finger missing, to stream, to go through the slides, had a finger missing. And so every time he would go through the slides, you see his little missing finger. And so that's super cringy. But no one's going to tell you Life Church is not cool. So everybody starts out cringy. It's okay. Just lean into it. Just, make it a thing. And now it's a story that Craig Rochelle tells all the time. I want you guys to remember something. If God put a dream in your heart, he has already set up all the steps, all the pieces for you. You just need to want it and to push towards it. You guys are already set up to win. It may feel like it's unfair sometimes. People have, they get this thing, or Transformation gets 600,000 YouTube things every week or whatever. It's you're it is unfair. You have the living God of the entire universe on your side. So just act like it. So just realize that God's already set up everything that you need to grow and minister to exactly who you are called to minister to. And there's an opportunity that for someone out there to get reached that no one else except for you can reach. No super elevation church worship can reach them. They can get them along the way, but God has marked your church, you, as somebody who is running these things, as the person who is called and to bring them to eternal life. That's not a big deal, but okay, it is a big deal. So a few things for starting out. I have a link at the end of this. Oh, by the way, I forgot to mention, if at any point, do you guys use Instagram? How many of you guys use Instagram in here? Okay. For the Instagram guys, if at any point you have a question, instead of doing a mic, if you're feeling a little introverted and you want to hide, just comment at that guy Sam on Instagram to me, and I'll check my phone and I'll read it out. And that's a little easier to get the question started off as opposed to having to stand up. But also we'll have a mic thing if we want to do that too. Okay. So at the end of this, I'm going to have a website link for you guys that'll list all the resources that I've mentioned here, all the slides as well. And so if you guys just want to go through and do a deep dive on research of stuff to figure out, I know church tech people always love that. Just like, what are you doing? What camera are you using? What lens is it? You know, all that kind of stuff. So it looks like we've got about 8 minutes here. And so I want to go ahead and go into questions. So if we can go ahead and get that mic ready. And then who's got the first question? Right here.
Oh, sorry.
In the blue shirt.
Just real quick, thank you very much. Do you find it better to live stream or just do the small little 1 to 2 minute videos, or is it better to do both? I mean, I know there's been, on some of the forums that I've been reading, some people as pros versus cons. Is it better to do live stream, or is it better just to do your small little?
What do you mean, like the 1 to 2 minute form videos?
Well, I mean, like keynotes, as far as in the sermon, pick out several keynotes
like
within the sermon, and then.
I would say it's super easy to do both, especially because you can literally go to Facebook Live and just click the Facebook Live button and you're streaming. You know, plug it into your Blackmagic capture, whatever.
Sure.
Like I have a link to like a capture device in that note. But yeah, I would say do both. I would say to me the harder one is actually figuring out the clip. To edit because you got to trim it up, and I don't know. To me, video editing is just like the most difficult thing ever because you're like it's just endless. You like start moving around like your edits or whatever. But yeah, streaming is just so ridiculously easy now. You've got Instagram streaming on your phone. You've got Facebook streaming on your phone. You've got Facebook Live for your church services. It's just you just set it up and go. If you're concerned about controlling your branding, which you should be, that's a good thing to be concerned about as far as like controlling what you have out there. Then you could probably like delete the Facebook streams after you're done with them, and then edit that, or maybe there's like a hidden setting you can use for Facebook streams. But yeah, and just but I would say Facebook streaming is at the bare minimum. It's just too easy to do. Unless there's just something like terribly wrong with you're having church in a bar or something like even that's to me that's cool, and so it's like I really honestly right now I can't think of any reason that you would have not to stream through Facebook.
So there's really no wrong answer. Just do whatever you feel led.
Yeah. Cool. Oh, we have 10 minutes left. I did my math wrong. Oh, that's bad. Okay. What do you guys think about, what are some issues you guys have had with Facebook streaming? Do you have a question?
Where do you feel like it's most beneficial to stream off of, like YouTube or Facebook?
To start out, definitely Facebook. Again, it's just super, super, super easy. As you grow, you can go to YouTube or you can get to livestream.com. Eventually, you want to get to the point where you probably have one single stream that you bring out and you just promote on all things. But even with that, you can still stream to Facebook Live pretty easy. Usually, they do have restrictions. Like Facebook has a restriction for software developers who make live stream apps, you can only stream to Facebook Live by itself. And so what some people will do is they'll figure out a way they'll have like 2 live stream things open, or they'll have 2 computers. That's similar, kind of what Elevation does. They'll have several live stream machines going, and they'll do a YouTube and a Facebook and their own separate thing at once. But that's like sky high for like practical like ground level. Facebook is a great way to start out.
Okay, so our church, we're a smaller church, and we have tried doing live stream with worship. But the way we've got it set up, we've only got one route to get the audio through. So we do the house audio, and that's what we're using for the mix. So we don't really have the resources, I guess, right now, I don't think at least, to have 2 different...
Oh, you have the resources.
So that's what I'm asking, like how do we go about getting a different different mix for just the streams for
Yeah.
the audio, or is it be one of the things where you just set up a mic in the back, or is it? I'm sure there's what's something we could do to kind of, because it sounds really bad right now with what
Sure.
we've got. So,
Yeah.
yeah.
Find volunteers, talk to people. That's like Chris was saying. Like
You need like a separate computer, I guess is what I'm asking you for.
no, if you're gonna do a separate mix, you probably want a separate board.
Okay.
And it could be, you can get a pretty small board, or if I'm sure there's a solution out there where you could just mix with an iPad. And for for small churches, that would be super perfect because you don't have to buy like the full, I don't know how much a soundboard is, but like $3,800 board just for streaming, and so you get that kind of like iPad setup where you're just mixing with just an iPad, and you get that going, and there you go. But again, like talk to people and ask them what their story is, and just people we have there's a guy I serve at Guts, and there's a guy who's a firefighter. He leads all kinds of like firefighter training, and he's mixed on $1 million soundboards back in the 80s. He's a genius veteran sound guy, but you would have never guessed it because he's all about firefighting. So it's just the random stuff, especially like people who may have been in the bands in the past. They probably know a little bit about mixing, a little bit, to get dangerous. And so yeah, just talk to them and just say like, we're looking for some ideas on mixing for a live stream, and just make it sound great. All right, let's see what we got. So, Christopher Holt asks, what hardware do churches to live stream? I think Chris will ask, what hardware should churches use to live stream, I'm guessing. That would be, I would recommend an iMac with the fastest score you can get. i7 quad core is pretty great, just because streaming is so demanding. You could probably get away with a cheaper Windows machine if you have to. Probably something you can find at Best Buy. Or better yet, shop on Newegg or Amazon.com. They're going to have better options than local places. But just make sure it has an i7 quad core at least, and then a few gigabytes of RAM, maybe a video card, because you are doing video-related stuff. And then to capture, there's some pretty good options for, like Blackmagic makes some capture devices. Their deck link is pretty good, and it can connect over Thunderbolt from Mac, or they have a USB 3 version as well. And I think I have some links to some of those capture devices in the notes. Jordan Bland asked, is it better to stream on Facebook or YouTube? Well, it depends on who you want to reach. I would say if you're starting out, if you haven't done anything yet, Facebook is going to be it, because it's just you just have more organic reach. I mean, I know Chris talked about the things about you don't have, pages don't have great organic reach right now. I cannot tell you if I go on to because I know you guys wouldn't see this because you're not on Facebook on Sunday mornings, but every time I go on to Facebook on a Sunday morning, it's like church stream, church stream, church stream, church stream, church stream. Everybody's. I don't know. Like, to me, that's beating the algorithm of I'm seeing church stream, Chris Abbott, church stream, and so it's like I think because Facebook is trying to grow their live streaming, they're kind of giving it a little bit of a boost up. So if you're streaming, you get a special treatment just while you're streaming. But experiment with it, tinker with it. But I would definitely say that Facebook, as far as how easy it is to set up and how well it works, is pretty great. The disadvantage why you would not want to do Facebook at a certain point is that if you're on mobile, if you're watching from a phone, you have to watch it on Facebook, on either Facebook's website or on their app. If you take that little player that Facebook provides you and put it into your own website, You can watch it on a computer, desktop, but it'll take you to Facebook from the phone. So a reason you would want to use YouTube or livestream.com or something like that is because it all kind of like stays in your walled garden of your church website. And so if you're wanting to kind of keep people, or church online platform. So for example, one reason that would not be ideal is if you're streaming and you say, now just click on the giving icon in the upper right corner, and people on Facebook are like, what? What is he talking about? Can he see my screen right now? What's going on? And so that's kind of like, having control over where it is displayed is really great, especially because you have to do giving. Austin Dill asks, what is the best streaming platform to start out on? Again, same answer, Facebook. Because you don't need any kind of software. If you want to go free streaming software, you have OBS, and you can do some kind of like stuff where like rotating, turn the screen sideways or whatever. But you can literally right now, if you have a MacBook open, you could go and stream right now to Facebook. It's just super stinking easy. It looks like that's all the Instagram questions we got right now. Yeah. It's like the battle, like, no, you go, no, you go. This is what happens when you get a bunch of church people in the room. They're like, no, you go, no, you go.
So on Facebook,
Yeah.
I don't know if you talked about this or not, but do you need like a streaming license, like when you're doing the worship for the Hillsong songs you may be singing, things like that? And if so, do you need to post that anywhere?
Facebook is it's kind of like fly by night a little bit right now as far as like what they're doing. I would recommend posting your CCLI onto in the comments of the stream. But if you do get a flag, a hit of like, whoa, why did you play this? You're not supposed to stream this. You can post either a link to your CCLI, or if you bought if you own the copyright through like, you bought it on a stock site and it's copyrighted, but you don't have a license, just like link that license file in the reply. And that's kind of the way that system is designed to work. Facebook doesn't want to ding you for doing it the right way. They're just trying to catch everybody else.
Okay, so this kind of goes off what you were talking about with the website. So I don't know what I'm talking about. I'm just telling you what my husband was talking about. So, okay. So they're debating about how to put video on the website. So do you want to do Facebook and, in the comments link the website, or do you want to put it on YouTube and link that from the website, or do you just do your own video on your website? Just opinions on that. So.
Sure. This is right now what I'm doing is kind of a shotgun of like, here's every option. The smartest, best person in the world that can decide what the right option for you is at this table right here. It's you. It's just depending on like you set your goals of like, I want them to be able to click on the donation or on the giving button at any time. Well, then you're gonna have to like figure out something about Facebook. You might just start on YouTube instead. But YouTube's gonna be a little harsher on the copyright strikes. But again, that's just setting, if you figure out systems to protect yourself from copyright stuff and you're doing everything legally, then there's going to be churches whose streamings are dropping and like getting shut down, and we're just like, we're fine. We did it the right way in the first place, and so we're just great. And so again, you might check out livestream.com for dedicated streaming solutions. And there's a few other ones that are pretty good. Look at go to the Pro Church Media Tools. Google it and it'll autocorrect it. But their website, they talk some about streaming, and also Seeds has recommendations on streaming solutions. They use, I think right now the church of them uses Stream Monkey, which is actually a smaller service that's not too expensive. So I'd recommend that too. Cool. Well, I think I'm 2 minutes over, so I'm going to go ahead and cut it off. If you guys have questions, just message me, comment on that deal, and I'll answer them on there, or just do it IRL, which is internet lingo for in real life, and just like ask me directly. All right, thank you guys.